Have to unmute my microphone. Hey, welcome to another live stream. And like I said, I hope you're doing well. Had a good Christmas. Spent time with family. We did here, and enjoying the snow and white Christmas and so on. So anyways, hey, one of the things I get asked a lot as I travel around is how do I get kids, more kids to come to our Awana Club? So I thought I'd just take a few minutes and lay out just give you some ideas about different outreach ideas. Some of these I've used myself. Some I've seen others have used successfully. And so I just thought I'd go through a couple and give you some thoughts. So the first thing, most important thing about outreach, about having about an outreach strategy, is that you have an outreach strategy. In other words, you want to be thinking, how are we going to get more kids to come to your club? And so thinking about that, it doesn't have to be my strategy. It doesn't have to be somebody else's, but I think it's important for you to say, hey, how are we going to get more kids to come? So have an outreach strategy. I'll give you another thought is have an outreach coordinator. And so here's what and if you have a big club, it could be a separate person. If you have a small club, it could be the club director, it could be the Awana ministry director, but somebody to, we always have these bring a friend nights, and then where do those kids go? And so how do we get them back? So an outreach coordinator would be, preparing different ideas about getting more kids to come, but also getting those kids to come back and getting their name and contact info and contacting their parents, and how are we going to get them a ride? Especially unchurched kids. The parents might be more than happy to have the kids come, but if you can't get them a ride, they might not be there. So having some kind of an outreach coordinator to make sure you have your strategy in place. Next thing to think about is there's outreach for children. In other words, how do we get kids to come? But then there's outreach for parents. In other words, we want to get kids there, but we also want to get families involved. And if you have the kids come, and then ideally, you're building relationships with those parents. So you want to think about that as well, as how are you going to reach out to parents to get them to be more involved in the church, maybe even more involved in the club, building relationships with parents. So that's something to think about. So first idea I'm going to give you is this Awana Grand Prix. And Awana Grand Prix is especially good parent outreach. And for those of you who don't know, an Awana Grand Prix is basically a Pinewood Derby. And so we have the Pinewood Derby, we have the kids coming, and then we want to invite the parents too. So at our club, this is a big outreach event. What we've done too is we've given 2 kids out to the cars. Or 2 cars out to the kids, one for them, one for a friend, and let them bring a friend. And I know one year we had our neighbor kid, we gave him a car at the last minute. He just slammed it together. He got a screwdriver, poked some holes in the car. He called it, spray painted it gold. It was a pre-cut car. We put some weights on it. He called it the golden toilet. And lo and behold, he ended up winning the whole thing. So finding a way to get kids to come to the Grand Prix, get parents to come to the Grand Prix. It's a great outreach event. If you have more questions about that, let me know. Next idea I've got for you is low-income apartment outreach. So we have, we've got our club at our church, but do you have apartments that in the area that you can go and do the club there? I've seen this happen a couple of times where they will go, and it doesn't have to be the full 30 weeks of the year, but you could do that on a summer thing. You could do it now and then. And then when you do this low income, it could be just a 1-day Awana club. When you go there, and the kids come, you gather their information, give that to your outreach coordinator, and figure out how you're going to get those kids to come to your church every week for a regular Awana club. So it could be a really good thing. Especially, you get the apartment, you're doing it at the clubhouse, doing it in the common area. And, Joey comes down and he says, "Hey, Joey, you got any friends?" And he says, "Oh yeah, Billy lives over here and Mary lives over there and Susie lives over there." And we'll go get them. And it's right there. A really good way to do outreach. So, and like I say, it doesn't have to be the full 30 weeks. It could be just 1 or 2 weeks, just as an outreach. Another idea for you is Awana in the park. And, we go to West Coast Honor Camp. One of the teen outreaches is they have Awana in the park. And so they gather the teens, they go to the park. This is in the summer. They play water games, play circle games, teach a Bible story, have a puppet show, gather those kids' information. Of course, mom and dads are there, and gather those kids' information, and then they pass that information to the local church to get those kids to come. And it's a great way. I mean, the kids are already in the park, and they do this in the summertime. It's hot. They're playing. Hey, why don't you come on over? We're playing games. Have your teens. I would use your teenagers at your church to do this, and have your teens wander around the park. Invite kids over, doing Awana in the park. You could do it 1 or 2 times on a Saturday, or maybe a couple Saturdays in the summer, and find the kids in the area or in your town that might want to come to Awana using the outreach or using the Awana in the park outreach. Next idea I have for you is using special theme nights, and we've done this. And here's what I mean by a special theme night: is we had a theme night where we called it a pizza cookie night. That was the first one we did. And so we took cookies made in the size of pizza, put them in a pizza box, and just one big cookie. And we said, "Hey, if you bring a friend, you and your friend get to share the pizza cookie." And then we slice them up in the size, slice that giant cookie up with pizza slices, made it in slice. And then a lot of people, give some motivation to get these kids to bring their friends. And then the friends get something out of it too. So then the other thing to think about too is, so when you do that special theme night for that pizza cookie night, you want to gather that information, give it to your outreach coordinator, follow up. How are they going to get those kids to come back week after week? So the other thing we've done is we did a Pie Your Leader night. And so we did this this time of year because they're right after Christmas, getting everybody to come back. And we took all of January, and anybody who brought a friend got to pick a leader and throw a pie in their face the last club night in January. So we had 4 nights where we let the kids, we talked it up, and you get to pie your leader and so on and so forth. And that year we had friends bringing friends. So it was a great outreach. And so, give something kind of you have these bring a friend nights, but give some special motivation to the kids. And it was really a lot of fun. So special theme nights. I'm sure you can come up with your own. I think the key is having the friend and the kid have something they can collaborate together. And also too, when you have these theme nights, I might suggest having 2 or 3 or 4 weeks where it's a campaign, because sometimes, you have a bring a friend night and you have a special thing and they say, "Oh, Billy said he was coming and he just didn't come, and he promised me he was going to come." And so if you have 3 or 4 weeks where they have 3 or 4 weeks where they can really make it happen, then there's no crying kids, are not upset, and you give them 3 or 4 weeks to bring a friend. So that's another idea. Next idea I have for you is I put on here, stake your claim. So here's what I mean by that is, in your town or wherever you're at, get the geographic boundaries, within, if it's a small town, you can, the whole town, you can, map out the whole town. If it's a bigger city, maybe not so much, but stake your claim, figure out the geographic boundary, and then who are the kids that live in that area, and their bikes in the driveways, their playground equipment, and how do we find those kids, and how can we invite them? And I'll just give you a quick story on that. A couple of years ago, we did with our church, we did a mission trip to a town up in Northern California, and the people up there said, "Hey, we'll have a bunch of kids," and nobody came. So I got in our church van, and we drove around the neighborhood, found out where the bikes were, went to a house that had bikes, knocked on the door, said, "Hey, we're doing a vacation Bible school over here at this church over here. Would you like your kids to come?" And surprisingly, they said, "Yeah, hey, Billy, do you want to go to the thing? Get your shoes on. You're going to go with this guy." And so he actually came with me. And then "Hey, Billy, do you have any friends that live here?" And Billy said, "Yeah, Joey lives across town." So we went over to Joey's house, and Billy went in and got Joey. And so, make a long story short, by the end of the week, we did this VBS, that mission trip. By the end of the week, we had 3 van loads of kids going back and forth, bringing them to the VBS. And then we took those kids, we gave them to the local church, and got the local church to bring those kids week after week to Awana. So figure out stake a claim, determine to find out who the kids are in that area, and figure out how you're going to get them there. Then give that information to the outreach coordinator and find a way to follow up every week, get them a ride. Years ago, Judy used to, we had some kids in the neighborhood. She'd load the Explorer up with a bunch of kids. She drove them to the church. We got them there a little bit early, and then there was another group of kids close by the church, and she would drop the first group off, then go get a second group, bring them. I think she had, 10 or 12 kids she was bringing, and it was very exciting. And at the end of the night, she grabbed the kids that was closest to the church, took them home, and had me watch the first group, and then grabbed the first group, loaded them in the car, drove them all home. And so if you had everybody in your club or just a handful of parents doing that, you could get a lot of kids coming. It was a very exciting time. And you hear the stories about Art Rohrheim, and they used to do that. I mean, that the leaders were not just leaders, but they were missionaries out in the community. So find the kids in your community. How can you get them to Awana? Like I mentioned, another idea, vacation Bible school. And so every summer, most churches in our area will do a vacation Bible school. And they always tell me, "Hey, we got all these kids that love to come to vacation Bible school." And in the summertime, parents they're looking for something for the kids to do. So at the end of vacation Bible school, if you have a registration for your vacation Bible school, what are you going to do with all those names and contact info? Invite them to Awana, and you have that contact info. You give those names to your outreach coordinator, and, figure out how you're going to get them there, rides, contact the parents, et cetera, et cetera. But vacation Bible school is a great way to develop context. So I'll give you another idea. Some newspapers. We have a couple churches in our area who advertise in a newspaper that are Awana Club, especially in a small town. A lot of people know where the church is, and so the newspaper is very effective. Give you another idea, Facebook ads. So I was down in St. George, Utah, and talked to this guy, and they had a club, and you can target your Facebook ads very cheap, $3 or $4 a week, and you can target geographically, zip codes, and then you have people who are in. There's a way to cross-reference, so you can target people in your area who have kids, who and you can run an ad. It's very simple to do. If you have questions about that, let me know. But it's very simple to do, and they get kids. In fact, at our church, we do that for our VBS. And we get a lot of kids coming that are unchurched kids, and because they saw our Facebook ad. So Facebook ads you can do it for really cheap. Here's another tip, is a church sign. So if you have a banner out on the, either a banner or a church sign that's electric church sign, there's a couple churches in our area that put the sign out. As soon as they put the sign out, they had people who were calling the church, wanted to find out when it started, et cetera. So That's a church sign's a really a good way. And every one of these things, you think there's no one thing that's going to bring everybody. If you do everything, a little bit here, a little bit there, you add a couple here and add a couple there, or a couple kids here, a couple kids there. It's next thing you know, you've got a bunch of kids coming to Awana. Bring a friend night. Now you've got more kids coming. Posters around town that you can get some posters, print them off. You can buy some from Awana and put them into 7-Eleven, put them in different places. Ask people that own businesses from your church if you can put it up in their store. And I've heard people do this, and they've got kids that come to Awana. Door hangers. So, like I said, hey, spend a Saturday, and how are we going to comb the neighborhood close to the church? And hey, you knock on the door, find it, to target the neighborhoods that looks like kid-friendly houses, bikes, playground equipment. I mean, you can tell the houses that there's kids at. Knock on the door. Hey, we have Awana. It's a kids program over here at the church. And would you like your kids to come? Here's a flyer. Here's a door hanger. If they're not there, hang the door hanger anyways. I would say spend a couple of Saturdays, maybe get a group of people from your church to start doing that to canvass the neighborhood. Maybe even we've done this on some mission trips. Map out the thing, and then you block off, hey, mission, team 1, you go to this neighborhood. Team 2, you go to this neighborhood. Team 3 to go to this neighborhood. So door hangers, and there's clubs that I know that's worked successfully. So those are just some ideas on how you can get more kids. I think the key is like I say, have an outreach strategy. Pick 2, 3, 4 of these, and figure out what are you going to do to get more kids to come. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk to you about. Secondly, I've had a lot of people over the last couple of months tell me they like these Facebook Lives, and YouTube Live, especially in the outlying areas, because they don't get a chance to come to an Awana conference, especially the last couple of years with COVID. We haven't been doing a live conference, in-person conference. So people have asked me, they've enjoyed these things. And so I thought, hey, I'm going to try and do these once a week, once every other week, as best I can, when I fit in my travel. So I have a lot of people ask me questions when I'm out and about. So I thought I'd bring in some of those Q&A. If you have questions, put them on, send me an email, put it on the Facebook group, send me a Facebook message, etc. So very common question. First question I'm going to talk about. Very common question is, hey, we don't have enough leaders. And so what do I do? How do I make Awana work with not that many leaders? So the first thing I would say, is do something. Don't say, hey, we don't have enough leaders, so we're not going to have Awana. If you're the only one that came, if you're the only leader that comes, there's going to be kids that hear about Jesus. And so do something. Don't just cancel Awana because we don't have enough leaders. Now, there's a little bit dichotomy there. If you've got one leader and a couple hundred kids, then no, that's not going to work. But do something. So like we've always talked about, doing something is better than doing nothing. So the second thing around that is if you don't have enough leaders, then you have to be really, really tight on your club discipline. And what I mean by club discipline is not some heavy-handed thing, but club discipline, managing behavior. Because if you have a lot of kids and few leaders, you're going to have to, tighten up your discipline. Now, on my YouTube channel, I made a video. I think it's called "Making Kids Mine Without Losing Yours." So take a look at that, and that'll give you some discipline ideas on how to, tighten up your discipline. So having said that, here's some practical things. First thing is maybe you're going to have to do a group. A lot of times, not enough leaders revolves around, we don't have enough leaders for the small group time, the handbook time, reciting verses, listening to verses, etc. So first thing I would say is you may have to do a group recite. So in other words, our ideal is one leader per 5 kids, or really 2 leaders per 10 kids. But let's just say, what if you have more kids? Well, you have to do, you want to do something. You don't want to say, hey, we don't have enough leaders to listen to sections, so we're not going to do Awana. So you may have to have a group recite. And what a group recite is, you have the, especially at TNT, now a little bit with Sparks, you have everybody's in the same section. So if you do a group recite, hey, write the verse on the whiteboard. Everybody can recite the verse together. Erase a word, say it again, erase another word, say it again. Next thing you know, they're saying the whole verse. So you may have to do that. I mean, that's not ideal. However, doing something is better than doing nothing. So if you have a group recite, and then if you're the only leader and there's 10 or 15 kids, then you may have to do that. I remember years ago, I went to a club and they had one leader and 45 kids. And so that leader did the game time, he did the Bible lesson, and then he taught the kids a verse. And then if they were involved, participated in the group recite, he signed them off. So you might want to think about that. The other thing you can think about, if not enough leaders, is rotate parents. So they might not want to come every week, but will they come once a month? Will they come once a quarter? What we would always do is we'd ask parents to bring a snack, and on the week they brought a snack, they would have to stay and listen to kids recite verses. And there's some child protection issues there, but that's just, and you're going to have to work that through, but that's just something to think about. The other thing you can do, let parents sign the sections at home. So imagine if all your kids came and their sections were signed at home, let the parents sign the sections at home, and you had no sections. You could do a lot more with less leaders. So that's just a thought. You could ask dads to rotate in the game time. You could play, if you don't have enough leaders or if your leaders are getting burned out, rather than having a large group lesson, you could play a video. So you could play the Awana Plus videos. That's just a thought. So those are some ideas about how to do more with less leaders. And then over time, you want to continue to recruit new leaders. So now when I talk about all this stuff, we're assuming, you're recruiting, you're asking parents, you're doing all the things to recruit leaders, but sometimes you just don't have enough. And the reality is, it's not, you don't have enough leaders. You got too many kids, which is a great problem to have. So think about it the other way. So that's the first question. The second question, somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago, their Sparks Club does group pacing. So they have everybody sign they have all the Sparky kids in the same book. And so they said, what if we have kids that come in halfway through the year? How do we handle that what do we do with the book? What do we do with the awards? Because the Sparks award system is set up to be, Flight 316, and then the rank patch, and then the wings, and then the jewels go on the wings. So it goes progressive. So if they come in halfway through the year, they're in week 12 when the first week they come, and they do enough sections, they do 12, 13, 14, 15, and they get a jewel, then what do we do? There's no place to do the jewel. So first thing I would say is have them, wherever they come in, if they're week 10, if you're in group pacing, have them join the group in week 10. Do your best to catch up going backwards. Hey, ask them if they want to pass some sections at game time. Hey, their parents can sign their sections. Come early, stay late. You get 1 or 2 sections a week to try and catch them up. So that's the first thing. Now, if they're in week, they're halfway through the year, what are you going to do with the awards? And I would say, this is totally up to you. I would say, give them if they earn jewels before they've earned their rank patch, give them the wings, put the jewels on the wings, and then when they earn the patch, they can put the patch on and put the wings on the patch. So just make it work. You don't want to not give kids awards, but just make it work. So instead of patch, wings, jewels, it could be wings, jewels, patch, or wings, and then patch, and then more jewels, or, could be wings, couple of jewels, patch, more jewels, end of year book. So anyways, I hope that was helpful. I've got a couple of comments here. Somebody said that's what we do. And I'm assuming that's what they do. I'm not sure if that's what they do for their outreach or that's what they do for the Sparks, but and then I got a little note here from Tammy saying that she's enjoying the Facebook Live or the YouTube Live. So hope that was helped. I just want to do a couple things, just give you where you can tune into this. I have a YouTube channel. That's the the URL. And I have a whole, every time I make one of these, it stores in that YouTube channel. So there's a whole library of different tips that you can review. So you can do that. Send your leaders there. Have all your leaders. And if you subscribe to that, every time I make one of these, so you'll get a notification that, hey, there's another video. If you subscribe, then hit the little bell. Every time I make one, you get a notification that there's another one in there. The other thing you can do is you can have your leaders join our Facebook group, and that's the URL for that. So they can join, or you can add them yourself. If you're the AMD or your club director, add your leaders to that to the Facebook group, and that way you can leverage your time, and you can have to get them rather than you listen to the training, you pass the training on. Hey, just let them tune in. The other thing, here's the URL for the Awana Basics. I talked about that earlier in the year. Still a great time. A lot of times after Christmas, there's new leaders that come in, or actually there's new leaders that come in throughout the course of the year, and plug them into that Awana Basics. So there's one, that's the URL. At the bottom of that is a video. At the bottom of that URL is a video about how to utilize that website, and it's a great training. So hope that helps, and thank you for listening. Thank you for all you're doing, and undoubtedly there'll be children in heaven someday because of what you're doing every week. I know that right now, it's after Christmas, there's a little bit of a grind, and but just remember that what you're doing every week, someday children will be in heaven because of what you're doing. So thank you. We'll talk to you later, and we'll see you on down the road. Okay? Bye-bye.